And now we just need to give it a few seconds for it to roll round. We'll give it 10 or so seconds just to link into the system, as it were. If you guys are watching, welcome. Me and Owen are back again for more Infinity shenanigans. Now we're still running, if you caught the last thing we did about Infinity, we're still running the whole kind of rock and roll setup of a mobile phone in a professional studio. Well, half deployed professional studio at this point anyway. So the sound and the image won't be as good as it normally is, but we're still putting all this gear through its paces, and this is one of the ways we're doing it. So I think we should be linked in now. So, Human Sphere. We touched on it last time, but this is it. Yeah. It's here. Yeah. Well, it's here. It's hit with the force of a meteorite, of an angry god, and wow, the internet is, well, the Infinity part of the internet is up in arms.
Right, buzzing. It just, Adepticon in the United States saw the first copies hitting hands of the general public, and quite a bit of information has been shared with the internet. The actual PDF won't be released until they're saying May, I think.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But then again, it won't be going tournament legal until May.
Oh yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Maybe
I think that's what they announced anyway. Possibly. Now, while we are on the subject, I just want to say a big thanks to Beast of War, because and Corvus Belli, Carlos especially, who went over there to Ireland and did a lot of work with them on a load of presentation videos, which were excellent. Hugely exciting. I think we all had a lot of fun watching them and building up the hype, as it were. So great job, guys. Well done.
And building up the really good explanations too. The way that definitely. They were broken down, and there's just like a pacedness and a thought behind this expansion that you don't see in mini games very often.
And you really got that on the videos, having Carlos showing off these new profiles and saying, okay, well, even little things which have no impact on the game. But for example, saying, okay, well, this new troop, it's 30 points. Now, 30 points is our average, and that gives you a real view on how they want to take the game, because a lot of skirmish games start off very small model count and then go big model count when they get invested, because of course it sells more models and it generates more tactics and that sort of thing. But with an average point of 30, 300 points basic list, 10 models on average, they're not really moving. They're pretty proud of that, it seems. And that, anyway, that's the small bit of information I glimpsed from those videos, but there's so much more, which is what we're going to go over today.
The exposure of that game design was really, really cool. And one of the things, he would talk about, like, let's say, Scavenger. Scavenger is an ability that allows you to walk up to an unconscious enemy, stick a blade in their neck, pick up the machine gun or whatever, and
the
go
thing
on.
that normally costs like 3 special weapons and costs or whatever.
And and that's exactly it. He talks about how difficult that is to playtest. Yeah. Because anyone with this ability can pick up any weapon, and suddenly you have a camo bandit from Nomads, for example, who's walking around with an AP, T2, HMG, whatever.
But the thing is, it's so situational.
Right.
That will happen 1 game out of 10.
Right.
So how do you cost something? So it was interesting to get his thoughts on that, being the main designer of the game, one of the main designers.
And that's the elegant thing about what we've seen so far from Human Sphere, and I'm really looking forward to exploring further, is that you can see them completing and refining the rule set that they have already set up. That is one of the best designed, starting already from N3 minis games out there, and now it's just getting cooler without blowing things out of proportion, which is amazing.
It's generating a lot of movement, it's freshening up the game, and introducing a load of new stuff, which is what you want, especially with a model game.
New toys.
Exactly. Now, speaking of new toys, there is one thing that we're not going to do, and we're not going to go into new profiles.
Not too much.
Because that has been done and redone to death already since the book came out. I think they were very restrained with the book as well, those that did manage to buy Adepticon. It didn't instantly appear on Imager, all the pages scan, which was they were restrained. But
thank you, Infinity community. But a lot of people have been discussing things, and so that's where I get my information, is from someone telling me, oh, hey, check this out, this is really interesting. And we talk about these things on the forums. And on Facebook and on the Corvus Belli forums and other forums, Datasphere, etc.
So we're not going to go into profiles, because one, that would take far too long. We'd have to break it down into faction. There's so much new stuff between the General Grievous Eugene Ninjas and the SWAT team for backing in and what have you. There's just so much to talk about. But we're going to talk about the game, what this brings to the game, and basically the rules evolution. So in case you didn't watch the last video, you don't know, Owen is the professional in Infinity.
No,
You've been
no.
following this game. Well, you're a professional by my standards. I've only been playing since mid-N3, so I've only been playing for a couple of months. So you know a lot more than I do. Basically, that's all I'm trying
I've
to say.
gotten to watch the change from N2, which has been really big, and to watch certain rules. We'll be talking a little bit about indirect fire or speculative fire and how that's changed with this edition and with this expansion. And some of the basics really getting tweaked and made more fun, more participatory. It's always your turn.
Yes.
You always have the ability to react, and there's more fine gradation to things that has been inserted.
So you have the play sheet. Where do we start?
So let's start with links. Links are really link teams came in with Human Sphere
and they were huge already.
Yeah.
And that economy in orders is just massive.
Right.
But it tended to be, well, from my point of view, being a newcomer to the game, it seems to be you either play sectoral and have an amazing link team, or you don't play sectoral. Mm-hmm. But they're moving away from that now. Mm-hmm. They're bringing other things to the table, Harris especially. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what you think on that.
I think, yeah, exactly, that the expansion of link teams and taking the rule Haris, which was introduced first for Kapukalki or for Hakislam subsectors, and expanding it more into other groups is really huge. Giving us this ability to run multiple links at the same time, to run links with different abilities and different levels, has been one of the coolest things that they've done in this edition and in this expansion. So for Human Sphere, we've gotten the word so far that links, the basic link mechanism, which is 5 troops, the original core link, has been, it used to only be linkable down to about 3, and then once one guy died when you had 3 people, you're down to 2, link's gone. That's changed. Now links start at 2. And there's various different types of links, but they start at 2 members, and then they can go up from there.
So, if I'm not mistaken, before you had to start with a link team of 5.
No, with 3.
No,
and
with
then
3,
you could
sorry.
build up to 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm. And now you can start with a link team of 2.
Right.
A duo, as it's called, I believe now.
Well, there's even within both of the rules. So the core, which is duo, is a link team that is only ever 2. Mm-hmm. And that is, there's a lot of cool troops that have been added, like you mentioned, the Taskmasters.
Yeah. They're sickeningly good. Oh, they look fun. I don't know if they're overpowered or not. We'll see what happens, but they look amazingly fun.
Nothing's really overpowered.
No.
They look like giant hulking sets of not Terminator armor, but the Bakunin equivalent.
Exactly.
With crazy koalas or mad traps. I can't remember which one they have. That's a new mad traps or a new piece of gear that's like a crazy koala with adhesive ammo. Cool. Adding another effect that's, it's another challenge to say, oh great, now my mobile brigada is stuck to the floor, what do I do?
Exactly.
So the link team duo was added, Harris was expanded, and then the link team of 5 was given the ability to go down to 2. 2, you don't get a bonus other than the order economy.
Yeah,
right?
that's the one.
3, you get the +1 burst, that's in Harris as well. 4, you get 6th Sense level 2, Enoma Tarkos can go up to 4, but not up to 5. 5 is only core. In core, they moved the Discover bonus, which was sort of a subtle thing, up to 5 from 4 members.
I see, actually that used to be 4. Okay. Now, link teams, one of the biggest changes, however, apart from the new duo, is long orders. You can now perform long orders without being kicked from a link team.
Which is realism and flexibility.
Exactly, because you would never before. I have this impression, like I said, I haven't been around the block as much as some of the people watching this video, and you have, but I always get the impression there was 2 types of link teams. You either played a light infantry link team incredibly defensively, and put a rocket launcher or something in there which could benefit from the +1 burst on the reactive turn, and then just stuck your lieutenant in there and they protected your fire base. Or you did that horrific thing which you did to me the other day with the Katsubutai and did a 5-man heavy infantry link team with a Spitfire or some god-awful weapon like that and just rock around the board. You never saw grenade launchers. No, it's a learning experience. You never really saw like grenade launchers. You never saw hackers in a link team. Like if there was a hacker on the board, he'd never be in a link team, which just sounded silly. all that kind of thing. It was a shame.
Yeah.
It was a shame. But now you can fire a light grenade launcher, you can hack out of a link team without being dropped.
Yeah,
which is great.
Huge. And I mean, you could hack out before, but what you couldn't do is you couldn't do the long order hacks.
Yeah,
so,
that's what. Yeah.
you know, for example, for heavy infantry, you want fairy dust.
Yeah.
You've got a mobile brigada who's got, you know, in a link team, you want to be able to fairy dust your team and make yourself defensively better, and then also have that bubble of support for hacking. One of the really cool things about hacking in Infinity is how it is, in many ways, a parallel of infantry support in, you know, traditional armored warfare. You don't send a tank into a village without an infantry squad protecting its flanks from sticky bombs and the like. So hacking is, you know, in a link team can be like that, but that it was hobbled from doing these long skill things.
And you get some units such as I always forget their name. The Corregidor Heavy Infantry. I always forget the name. Mobile Brigada. Thank you. With Tinbot, which you want in a heavy infantry link, you want that in a link, and it's a hacker. But if you put it in, you lose a lot of the hacking aspect.
Right.
But now not anymore, which is awesome.
Huge.
Which is really good.
Yeah.
Plus being able to speculative fire out of it. There's just so much you can do, and with all these new different. And there's probably skills we haven't even thought of, and we've only named hacking and speculative fire. There's other things probably that you can do which we haven't copped onto yet. But I like the fact that it opens up this door to different kinds of link teams, like maybe 3-man medium infantry link teams, or small link teams where you use economy of orders and really specialist equipment to just, I don't know, to best effect without dropping your link every time.
Right. And without having to juggle links back and forth using command tokens and say, okay, you know, now I want to do now I activate the medium link team because I want to go do an objective, but then I put my defensive link team back on. So, for example, in JSA, I like to run a Kaisotsu grunt link, which is exactly what you were talking about with defend your LT and your order base and from airborne deployment or whatever. And then also bring up, you know, a trick of mine used to be to bring up a 3-man Domaru link team, and then kill that link and put the link back on the Kaisotsu before my enemy's turn, my opponent's turn, and then leave the Domaru up around, you know, causing chaos.
Of course.
Now you can have Haris links doing the same thing. You can have your little heavy or duo or whatever. You know, in JSA they added this completely amazing ninja. Well, not a ninja.
The General Grievous ninja with climbing plus super jump.
Jamie's vision of him has 4 arms.
Yeah, well, it does. It has twin wheel. It has super jump. It is General Grievous in every armor.
It is.
But yeah, that kind of thing is going to be amazing fun.
So you can run those guys up there, and then you can have your grunts and not be spending your command. You know, you can spend your command tokens on re-rolling heals, like I should have told you about the other day. But other things that that are more interesting for that. And that's one thing that we're seeing a lot with this edition. I think that, or with this addition to this edition, is more use of these command and these kind of higher level list and full gameplay considerations.
And it's really bringing in new troops, because we said we wouldn't go into profiles, but as an example, Haris has been wildly distributed amongst troops now. Well, I say wildly. I think at least one major infantry unit group from each faction has got Haris now. And if you take Orc troops, for example, from Pano, that's the only. They had no skills. Now they have Haris, and now
they will come.
Just the Haris, they're still good even without any skills. But now with Haris, with a 3-man squad, just with multi-rifles running around in your front lines without having to burn that command token every time, it's new stuff. It's promising new stuff to play with. Anything else on link teams that we haven't talked about?
Well, we'll get into a couple things. You touched on speculative fire, and we're going to get into that a little bit more later, because that's one of the things that's that's an emergent thing that I think is going to change here. We're going to talk a little bit about, we haven't really had a chance to play with these rules yet, but just looking at them, thinking, I see some changes coming.
And that's the joy of the hype.
Yes. Hype train!
Basically. What else?
Let's talk about...
moving on.
So Evo is huge. Of course, Beast of War covered this really well, and Carlos covered this really well.
But that spending that command token to fairy dust first turn is just... game breaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely game
Or
breaking.
burst 2 on all your remotes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I mean, I would say it's game making. It's,
Yeah.
So there's a change. In N2, alpha striking was a legitimate way to end the game. Unfortunately, you could roll your opponent and kill their lieutenant, and then they were out the next turn, and there was no coming.
Yeah, I know, but that's the same problem with every miniatures game where you can alpha strike.
Not Infinity now.
Not now, not now. They have definitely been targeting alpha strikes for this with everything we're going to get into.
Late teams.
Yeah.
Evo, having that ability beforehand, and then Evo has so many other cool things. One of which again affects speculative fire, which is the change to sat lock, which is an underused ability I think in the game, but allows you to run one of those little 16-point sensor bots up and or anything with sensor and sat lock, and within your sensor area you can A, detect camo. So unmask camo, and B, target a unit. So you could pick, say, a camo token, that you can't see within your zone of control. Target the guy. All he can do is reset, and that gives him away. And unmasks his
mission
camo.
accomplished anyway.
Exactly. And then you can rain, smart missiles or like grenade launchers or whatever down on him. And that is that. Evo used to give you, that's done at a neg6 to your whip base, but Evo used to give less than that to neg3. Now it's flat, according to my sources.
Which is big. Especially with, what was I going to say, with smart missile launchers, which you never see. Because there's I've very rarely seen them played that much, but I've never seen a guy going, "Oh, I've got a smart missile launcher, you're done for now."
Yeah. That was N2. That was the dirty nomad trick. Was this smart missile launcher thing? But I like to use them, and I've seen other players use them as an orthogonal approach.
Yeah.
And that's another cool thing about So Infinity encourages you to have several different approaches in your list. And when this one becomes frustrated because of either placement of miniatures or the abilities of your opponent's troops. You try this one, and then that all messes up, and you try a direct frontal assault.
Last ditch attempt.
Exactly.
But things like Satlock and such, that -6 was really impeding, so to speak. Especially with a lot of tags, you've whipped 13 or something, so you're rolling on 7s and. Basically, and that Aquila guard stood on the tower in suppressive fire with a HMG is not going to go anywhere. But now you can sneak up in cover, target him, and then just take him off that tower.
Which is exactly what I like to do with Aquila guards.
Which is one of the only things you can deal with that. But that's what you meant. Yeah. These orthogonal approaches, you don't want to bum rush an Aquila guard in suppressive fire. Very bad plan, I think. Yeah. Very bad plan. Unless you've got a lot of chaff to throw at him and eventually get a crit or get lucky or something to force him to dodge or whatever. It's great to see that.
And there's little, you can see little bits of like negative space in here, some places where Corvus Belli could fill in with some more abilities in the future, and it's almost like they're saying, there's little teasers in here. One of them is Sniffer on troops. So Sniffer is the deployable equipment force sensor. Of course, it's mostly on remotes right now. But if you put it on like a deployable repeater, you put it on a non-remote, non-hackable troop, then you can run up and deploy that Sniffer and pull this trick off from afar without having to worry about the equipment getting, or about your troop that is deploying the equipment getting hacked or whatever in return. And so you can see that this is out there, and it's going to happen perhaps in a future expansion.
When they deem it necessary. Yes. But like you said, it's a good point to make. They have left a lot of holes which they can fill at their leisure, of course, with whatever they want, just to keep on developing the game, basically.
As
long as that was PC. Whoops, professionals.
So we've got a few. There's a bunch of new rules, of course, and we won't go over, just like the troop types. We don't want to go into all of those.
Well, there's enough stuff on all the forums to wade through, and it's only going to get worse until the book is released. But it's discussing these interesting points that we're after. So what's next? So
hold on.
While we are on Evos, before we move away from Evos, I want to talk about Team Link Pro. Now, I didn't fully understand the point of it. Well, the point. I didn't fully understand the rules for it. So did you get that?
Yeah. So Team Pro is one of the Evo programs, Evo support programs, and one of the impacts of it, one of the reasons you might want to have it running in your first turn, which is an ability that the Evo gives you, awesome, is to transfer. So it transfers primacy, or the link leader within the link automatically without breaking the link. So let's say that you're a link leader, and often the reason that this is important beyond even your first turn, or let's say on your second, third turn, is that the last time you activated the link, you transfer, let's say you have the missile launcher guy, pop out, take a shot, and come back.
And he all of a sudden is now the link leader.
Right, and you're sitting on him when you end, and maybe you don't have enough orders to activate them for a move and transfer the link or whatever. So this guy's the link leader, he's hanging out there. Team Pro means that even if he gets blown away, it automatically, you can transfer that link leader to someone else.
And that was a big problem with these Burst 2 rocket launchers on the reactive turn, is that they would be link leader, or somebody out there would be link leader if you'd shot with them anyway previously. They didn't have to be, but and if you lose them, then you lose the link, and that's a command token gone afterwards, and all that.
And you can invest in order in transferring that beforehand, but this just means more order efficiency. It points out another place where you can mine things up in a cooler way with Human Sphere and 3 rules, and it's good game design. It's really good game design.
And before anybody says on the first turn, well, you'll never put your link leader out there on the first turn, speculative fire.
Yes.
So it does happen. It does happen, and that's a direct counter to it. Once again, the Alpha Strike sort of thing is you've got to take the model and you've got to pay the command token. But it does save you a lot of hassle in the long term. So there you go. Anyway,
so and that's another place where again speculative fire is the thing that I'm seeing is like really potentially very useful here. So a lot of new rules, with some Tinbot tweaks, renaming. There was a lot of renaming, things like the marker became the pitcher, things like that. And you've got Metachemistry 2. One thing I really love, just to pick a random one, mechanical transmutation, which is how the Sujian, Cyberbot, so it used to be a short skill of its own, and so you would have to, people would often run the Sujian in just its, or are right now, because we're under these current rules, with the mobility form, which is the one that can climb and all that, and not pay the order cost to transfer, because it just basically gets you more ballistic skill.
Yeah, basically. And you have a heavy flamer, so when you're that mobile with a heavy flamer, you don't care really. That is that HMD or a combi? I can't remember.
It's a Spitfire. It has a Spitfire Panzerfaust. I think it's a light flamer, but it's a flamer period. Yeah, nasty. So the mechanical transformation is now like prone in that I think you can do it, and this is actually one of the places where I haven't looked closely enough yet. But I've heard you can do it as part of the move order. So that's more order economy, and you can link the Sujians together in duos, so you could have 2 of them running next to each other. That's 2 Cyber Tigers climbing walls.
Linkable tags. I believe the Combined Army are getting Batroids. Heavy tags in a link team. Is it an Umbra that has to lead them or something?
It is an Umbra, So they get a Harris with the Umbra, not Sith, the bad guy with the lightsaber.
Floating along there with his cape,
and then he's got these 2 sort of like biological tag type things that are going to be really, really cool, but can form, a heavy, exactly what you're saying with, a small, heavy infantry type, or heavy striker forward team, and then you've got your defensive team in the back. That's going to be really cool.
I mean, it costs a fortune because each one of those I think is 60-70 points, but that is a wow. That's a link team from hell.
It's going to hurt.
Being on the receiving end of that in reactive turn, it's going to sting. Geckos are going to get it too. That's going to be really cool because you want to see those in teams. That it makes sense to see them. It makes sense. In fact, one thing we did miss out on link teams is I believe they are introducing more mixed link teams as well.
Right, that's very important.
So you're going to get things like for Ariadne, what they call Highlanders leading recruits and or volunteers, that sort of thing, and that will be cool.
Yeah.
That will be cool. It's one way. It's like how did you put it? Parental guidance or something.
So Domaru. The reason I say that is that the fluff for in JSA, the Haramaki are sort of hot-headed or at least as I understand, were the new samurai on the block, and so they're the young samurai, and then domaru are a little more experienced. You know, the guys who will sheathe the sword, as they say, you know, take a hit to give a hit, and are just so now Haramaki actually, as far as I understand it, have to have a domaru to form a link team.
Really?
So you can have you know one type of cyber samurai mixed in with you know 4 other types.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool. And then for Ariadne, it gives the ability to take these lighter troops and put heavy, you know, Ariadne and heavy infantry in as a spear point. And this is something that they kind of pioneered previously with ISS Imperial Service had
with the agents.
Yes, they had a crane rank who could lead you know a heavy infantry, very experienced leader with a unit of Celestial Guard who were just kind of thugs, you know, light infantry. But he could be gaining their bonuses, and so you have him peeking around a corner, firing a burst 4 multi rifle with +3 BS and you know 6 sense level 2, and you know then you pay a lower cost than it would be to run a whole team of heavy infantry.
Yeah, of course.
And you can have those mixed abilities. So now they've looked at that and they've said, oh, that was really cool, and they've expanded that to so many more forces.
But it's not do what you want. It's not I'm going to take I don't know Butai and then put a load of just basic troops in with them. You can't do it with everything. It's very. I believe it's a theme force thing though. Sorry, not theme force, sectorial. It's only sectorals this, and it is. It says these guys can lead these guys or whatever. You can't just do whatever you want with link teams. There. So, but it's still cool. It is still cool. It's still very thematic, and in my point of view, they took link teams from sectorals in a sense and gave it to vanilla. In a way, the way you've got a lot more access to Harris and that sort of thing now.
Oh no! But see, the links, those don't. The only links that function in vanilla are the duo links.
And you can get Harris.
You have to run Team Pro.
No, Harris is not.
Still also sectorial. Well, I have the same issues. I've had a couple things where I've said like, "Oh, that's really cool," and you know, people have been like, "You're missing. You know, that's not."
Right.
And it's because we've just seen some of this stuff and we're still figuring it out.
Right. Okay, that's my bad then. So Harris. So to be clear, Harris. 3 teams of 3, 4, and 5 are still only sectoral.
Yes. And for teams of 2, you actually have to run the Team Pro Evo software. So, or Evo support program. Sorry, thinking a little real world right now. What operating system are we on?
If he's Mac and I'm on Windows, we're screwed.
We got a Linux guy.
No, rewrite everything. No, but what I was going to say, finish the analogy still, was I felt like they were giving link teams a little bit to vanilla. So to give something back to sectoral, they were going to give them these special link teams. Obviously, they haven't taken as much out of sectoral now, but it's still nice to see them give these nice thematic things.
Yeah.
And it gives you another way to play different models, basically.
Yeah. And to take your existing forces and to remix them into new potential. Like one of my favorite link teams, getting into specifics again, but we're just doing this as an example.
No, go for it.
The new mix is Senior Massacre, who is...
Oh yeah, this is amazing. Oh, this is Deadpool and cronies. It's amazing. Senior Massacre and not bandits, Jaguars. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you run that? It's just So
you've got a bunch of space gangsters led by not Deadpool.
Yeah.
And you know the really cool effect of this is that first of all they let him do it as a core link team or as a Haris. The Haris has a small special weapon choice cost, but the core link team version will either one actually gives you a choice of different types of grenades because they have smoke grenades and then they have these Eclipse 0V grenades. And so as a nomad, as a Corregidor player, because it's only going to be Corregidor, you could really expand the ability to hide. I mean, before you had Senior Massacre, and when you were facing an Aquila guard, you'd be like, oh great, now I got to activate him and move him up. But he's there with the link already. And
he's moving up. They're throwing smoke, and then he's just chopping dudes up.
Again, it's order economy and good design. These guys. Infinity, I am not a game designer, but I know a lot of game designers, and I'm sure you know tons of game designers.
Quite a few.
and watching them analyze, watching one of those guys encounter Infinity for the first time and talk about the design or look at the design and just say, oh wow, that's cool and that's cool, is always an interesting feeling because it's. I don't know enough about miniatures games in general. You know, I've played a few others, but I keep hearing that it is the best designed out there.
It's definitely in the good grace of the community at this point. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with M3 rolling, I think it's going to bring back a lot of players that may have moved on or maybe looking at other things at the moment, and drawing a lot of new people with us. And this is another thing with the passage from V2 sculpts to V3 sculpts. I think that's going to interest quite a few people.
And so many other cool. I mean, Adepticon, they showed off all those cool new the ISS starter box.
Thankfully, that box so needed a resculpt. But what did blow my mind was the Megraba Guard.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Oh no. That's
Do you need another army?
I probably do now. It's so pretty. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the old design for that tag in the first place. You know, there was a
very Ghost in the Shelly sort of thing.
And Appleseed. They had that rounded quality, and you know the same thing with the Gojira. I loved the old, like chunky thighs, like rounded.
Well, he's still got pretty chunky thighs.
Oh yeah,
but not as chunky as they used to be. Admittedly, and they were horse size. Those thighs before.
And very like bubbly. And I liked that bubbly thing, but the detail and the way that they're working with the sculpts now and the poses is so cool.
They're moving into their own artistic style at the moment.
They really are,
for sure, and they're resculpting everything, which I think, along with the new rules, along with the hype, just the simple hype around the game is, and plus just the way it looks. Like you can't not walk past an infinity table if you see one.
Yeah.
It's just too pretty. I mean, Adepticon, you'd see these games of people playing, and people would just be walking past us. The terrain is just fantastic. Let's see a fully fledged infinity board, which is
skyscrapers, with
ads
and lights, and
I don't know if I'd like to play on that board because having a sniper up on one of those buildings would probably you'd have to land a combat jumper on the top of that roof to take them out.
But see, you've got your ninja and your wall climbing robot or whatever, and or just you just spend the whole game. Oh god!
You say the wall climbing robot, but those skyscrapers were so tall. You take you 5 turns just to get up.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, good point. Order economy.
But anyway,
watching the game evolve, we've touched on the alpha striking, the change in the protections for alpha striking that have been really cool. Artillery, going to be more useful than ever. We said Satlock, very important.
Orthogonal approaches. Approaches.
But this is also putting the lowly light grenade launcher. Has been
that 0.5 special weapon cost. It's in every damn basic troop profile. Nobody ever takes it. But now, in fact, bring me back to a question from earlier on. If it's in a link team and you speculative fire, do you get the +1 burst?
I don't think so. So speculative fire has always explicitly said, or it says in N3, the basic rules, that it's only one shot at a time.
Gotcha.
So I know you don't get the +1 burst. What I don't know is whether you get the +3 PS. So that's a good question. Yeah, that would be fun, but from a balance point of view, maybe you don't want to do that because...
True, this is very... At the same time, you'd have to put a lot of work. It would counteract the targeted state, or the sat-lock state. You wouldn't forcibly need it. But at the same time, if you wanted to set up the perfect shot of sat-locked plus link team light grenade launcher speculative shot, or whatever speculative shot, it would take a lot of orders. But, pain for days,
and it's the odds they're going to be dodging, but it's from out of line of sight, and you gotta. That's Infinity requires these calculations in your head to say like, I don't know about you, but I'm terrible at probability, and it's there are calculators out there. Shout out to Toadchild, yours is awesome.
It is,
and you can run these things ahead of time and know the scenarios, but on the spot making these calculations is it's like taking the standard SATs, which is the big standardized test in America. Like your brain hurts. But I think that just trying these ones out. So I'm hoping that other players will try out a lot of speculative fire and see if it changes the way that the meta functions. And of course I will be using it a lot. I set myself the challenge of using smart missiles more.
Gotcha.
just to get used to them. But now I'm going to be packing grenade launchers and grenades, and just to see. So be prepared for a lot of games with that stuff. Sorry, man.
I'll put the Aquila away for the next game.
Yeah.
Right.
And then let's see. So we've got that, and one thing that actually also affects is there's a bunch more perimeter weapons. They've actually refined the way that things like crazy koalas worked. Apparently. I'm really looking forward to getting into those rules. Haven't read those rules.
Are they going to be less, if it moves, I'll jump on it?
I don't know, man.
We'll see.
That's something that we got to buy the book and read that, because that's going to really matter.
What I was thinking is, because you've got these new, not the drop bears, sorry, the mad traps, which are, like you said earlier, adhesive crazy koalas, apparently. My question immediately was, why do I want to mobilise something when I can just kill it? Now, that came back as 2 results. If it's got 2 wounds, if it's heavy infantry or a tag, you can't kill it, you can do it a wound, which is still good.
Right.
The question is that better than mobilising it and then following up? Now, in the reactive turn, adhesiving somebody to the ground is a lot better than doing a wound to them.
Right.
Because all of a sudden they've got to start using orders to get an engineer to unstick them.
Good point.
That sort of thing. So I think it will be a better reactive weapon than the crazy koalas against everything heavy.
Right.
Everything with more than 1 structural wound. Crazy koalas, however, are still, you want to protect yourself from a medium or light infantry that's moving up, or thermo that's going to come and shank you from behind.
Well, I don't even know if that's actually something that I really want to look into the perimeter rules about. I don't know whether it still affects camo, because that was a big thing. I think that changed with N3 or whatever, but it became the case. But I don't know whether it's still the case. This is another thing. There's so many things that we need to read the actual rules, and I've had some of these things explained to me in detail, and so am fairly aware of certain things. But this one is one where and it interacts with other things like the spec-fire. So the spec-fire thing is let's say that your opponent has a pheasant with mad traps. That's actually one of the cool changes to the pheasant agent from Imperial Service. You're sitting around and you want to clear a path, so you could just lob grenades until you kill the little things and then move up through. But how efficient is that? Is the question.
Exactly.
And
very true.
Immobilization has always been useful, or with adhesive launchers in combination with hacking, which is why you see it with hackers a lot. So you hack someone, you get that the Gajia goes grr, grr, and then you stick him with the gun, and it's a Fizz -6 roll, and he's stuck. Yeah. And that's a lot, and he can either do that or reset.
But maybe, is it going to be that these changes? The only thing that brings it to mind is perhaps that the mad traps are going to get a bonus, and the crazy koalas are, it's going to be, you'll get +3 to your dodge against crazies, but not against mad traps. It might be too particular.
Well, no, there's a standard, so they put in a standard set of rules for these perimeter weapons, and it includes an ability called Boost, which is, I believe, what the crazy koalas or mad traps are exercising themselves as their arrow, but I don't know how that stuff works. So this is just something we should learn about this, because this is going to definitely change the game.
But I am looking forward to mad traps just to see what difference immobilize, apart from those I've just stated, to really see how it affects the game. It's definitely not as simple as, why should I stick it to the floor when I can kill it? It's not that simple. There's a lot more into it. But anyway, moving on.
So you mentioned we've gone through links, etc. We've kind of like interspersed here a lot of the things that I had notes to take. Oh, that's good. It's a good conversation.
There's so much to talk about. I didn't think we were going to be able to maintain a fully structured form here, because
who wants structure?
Just because link teams, you talk about link teams, then you talk about like the link team pro, then you talk about grenade launchers and speculative firearms. So much to go through. Anyway.
One of the things that we again will have to play through is whether Evos are an auto include now. It's 25 points, 0.5 SUWC. So I think
I can see why they'd be good. Do they come with a special weapons cost though? Would be my first question. I think they do, like a normal hacker. And also, if they are that auto include, what is Ariadne going to do?
Right.
Because at the moment, Ariadne hit out of luck with all these cool new toys.
Well, they've got what are the war drivers in some of the sectorials?
Oh,
the
the
vanilla.
dozers. With
No,
the,
war drivers are
tractors.
the hacker. They're like a mercenary
right.
hacker, and they get mercenary.
Oh,
hackers
they
in
do.
some
Yeah,
areas.
they can use Drews and stuff, can't they? I suppose eventually.
Yeah, and when they you know, the question is, are they compensated through something else? You know, so through like, this is one of the places where you exposing or analyzing how the game design works could be really helpful, because you can look at Ariadne and say, are there troops cheaper to make up with this, or is there some ability? You know, so God knows.
At the same time, they are an unhackable faction.
Right.
So any point of hacking your opponent takes against you is moot.
Right.
If somebody takes an evil hacking point, an evil hacking device, the only thing they can do with it is use those command tokens to start.
Support.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, so some of the supports, those supports only need, the command token thing is for initial, you know, going on the first turn.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You'd only get that. That's the only normal bonus you get over taking an evil hacker.
Right.
And
But they've done a good job of giving a lot of the hacking devices non-direct functions. So killer hacking device can apparently do cybermask, which is gives them impersonation.
Against
so you
hackers.
could take against everybody.
Oh, wow.
So you give them you know, it's the lower level of impersonation, I think. So you give them impersonation, and then it's harder to kill. You know, let's say they're your LT. It's hard to get them. You know, Ariadne can't. You have to discover them.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So there's Spotlight, which is the targeting.
Yes.
So you can do that against things that are not necessarily hackable in the traditional sense. So they gave an extra approach, but you're right. It takes, when you know, Ariadne or a non-hackable target you're facing, it takes your options and goes, and you've wasted those.
But yeah, that's where maybe my statement before was a bit off topic, or went off somewhere over there. Is that you still have all these cool programs that benefit you, and that's what would make it an auto-clued, not the offensive. The offensive options, you now have these new killer hacking devices, which we'll get into in a minute, all these new toys, but the toolbox that is an Evo hacking device on a bot is what are Ariadne going to get that, or are they just good enough as it is?
Antipodes, I mean, werewolves, 6-point guys with chain rifles that are regular. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. And they've done, you know, let's say, okay, so you got the Evo hacking device. It's on a cheap bot. Doesn't have any weapons. I think the combined one does.
Yeah.
Maybe has a combi rifle, but the other guys don't. You know, so target number 1 for your light grenade launcher or your.
Well, that dude that's going to ram out, or the guy that AD jumps in and.
Right. So you kill that thing, then you go through, and it's that prioritization is really going to be different with this.
Yeah, but it's one of these things that I like about Infinity is every time you sit down on the table, it's a new set of priorities.
Right.
Depending on the terrain, depending on the mission, depending on the setup. I feel it would be a shame is if they do become an auto-include and they are as good as we think they're going to become, and they go the whole hog, and you sit down and go, okay, that dies, then we'll see what happens. You know, it would be a shame if that's what it came to.
Yeah.
I feel it would take away the unique side of it, because when you play other games like War Machine or something, there are always key pieces in there that you have to scalpel out in order to have a better chance of winning. So how are they going to do that? I don't know.
Well, we're going to have to play a lot of games to see.
To find out.
You know, there's other things that they changed. Like they changed, they added some more levels to some abilities that didn't have levels before. Like we were talking about Senior Massacre. He has Natural Born Warrior.
Level 2 now, I think that exists.
Well, it has 2 levels. Right. Yeah. So it has like Berserk does. You know, you can either use it for eliminating someone's Natural Born Warrior. You can either use it to eliminate someone's martial arts ability, which it's always been, or now it can give you some bonuses in combat, and like a martial arts level. So you can use it against troops who are not packing martial arts, which is so Senior Massacre can become even nastier in you know, like tags.
This might be as what we were saying about Scavenger to kind of eliminate this, because it's a very hard point a very hard competence to points cost.
Right.
Ability to point cost rather. If you run across somebody that does martial arts all day long, then you'll be happy you have it.
Right.
But if you're just facing off against 20 Eugene prisoners in explosive masks, then who cares? You know. So this gives you that little bit more.
Right. It's another universal, like they took these abilities and they said, okay, we've got leveling in martial arts, now we're going to have leveling of I-Cole, of natural born warrior, of all these other things, of, you know, and that is, and they're all, you know, each of these charts, these 4, you know, 2 to 5 level charts. There's a new one called Guardian.
Which everybody was really excited about because it came out on the Cossack diplomat corps
with his antipode buddy.
Yeah.
I think that's basically I think in the Beasts of War video they said it's a guardian you can't avoid.
Yeah,
so
I didn't really get the, well, let's say it wasn't something I particularly looked into. It seemed a bit, it was a weird rule.
Yeah.
Weird rule. It's a new rule, it's interesting, and plus apparently he's not the only one that's going to get it. Aleph is going to get one.
Yeah.
So it could be the start of these. Well, if it's like the diplomat corps, it's a lieutenant with lieutenancy abilities that doesn't cost too much. The downside to him is he's on a 55mm base,
Right.
which is a pig to hide.
Right.
So,
and you know, I'm really looking forward to playing through all this stuff and seeing what they've got.
Definitely.
And I think we've covered most of what we were going to talk about there. I think let's see here.
Well, we did talk about killer hacking devices, which were one of the big things that was on the preview videos and such, which, to put it simply, you guys probably know this already, is hacking device to kill hackers.
Right.
Because you could always brain blast somebody and that sort of thing. Before, that was the only program you had. Whereas,
I mean, you could immobilize them, you could brain blast them, you could, you know, but as far as opposition directly against the hacker, there wasn't as much brutal kill your hacker stuff.
And that was only basic hacking devices. Assault hacking devices and the others couldn't do brain blast.
Assault and defense couldn't, but basic hacking device and hacking device plus could.
Exactly.
And now you've got killer, which has even nastier things like Red Rum, or I think lightning is maybe one of them. A bunch of different things.
But with like their power 16 hacks or something, which is if you get one of those off, that hurts. That is going to hurt. I think there is one. It's burst 2. I think it is actually Red Rum. Power 16 burst 2 double treble ammo, which is just gone. If you get in hacking range of that, and plus 3 to whip as well for the hacking attempt for the attacker. It's brutal. I mean, is it -3 or -6 to hack through somebody's repeater?
Oh, so you get a firewall when you hack through somebody's repeater. But if you run up into -3 to your ability and they get +3 to their BTS, I think.
Yeah, but it's still. The +3 of that program will take out the -3.
And you don't even have to be right next to them. You can run up next to their repeater, and
and you're still going to face off with an unmodified whip, and essentially, will possibly put 2 double trouble hits onto them, which is, ow.
And the ninja packing that is, you know, for the Eugene example, is not much more than the ninja with just a tactical bow. I mean, it's like a few points more. The guy's a specialist, and he can kill hackers now.
It's
awesome. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's so thematic as well. It's probably goes in the cell.
It might affect that auto include Evo repeater again, because you know the Evo repeater is
this is true.
Hacker.
Yeah.
You're right that it'll mean now I got to use my killer hacking device as the first step of the game to take out the Evo repeater to blah 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 blah. But it will at least lessen that, you know, it will affect that calculation you make when you're building the list and deploying.
Exactly. Now we mentioned the 2 offensive techniques. There are new defensive techniques as well, and have they reclassified as well to sword, shield, and support programs?
No, I think so. They've kept the same classifications from what I've seen, and from the Beasts of War video, and from what I've read. A lot of the classifications stay the same. They've added new software programs, of course, and the white hacking device, which is another.
It's like a defensive hacking device plus sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hacking devices now. It's getting a bit hard to follow them.
And they're really, but that's the cool thing, is because they follow these same, you know, just like the various fighting close combat arts have been put on these leveled charts.
Yeah.
The way that they have designed the hacking devices makes it easier to look at this big cloud of information and compare, you know, because you have these tables with these, you know, characteristics. And you can compare them and be like, this one's neg3, but that one is burst 3.
Yeah.
DT ammo, what are the odds, you know?
Yeah.
And run those in your head and run them on similar things rather than, you know, these sort of vaguely described abilities, which were, you know, natural born warrior would be a good example beforehand. You're sort of thinking, but if I knock out his martial arts, is that better than, you know, and so the expansion of hacking has given us has been done in a way that makes it not hurt your brain as much.
Thankfully, because there's a lot in Infinity that already hurts your brain. But I love this
So
cyber warfare aspect they're getting. It was very small at the beginning in N2, and now in N3 with all the new toys we've got, the whole cyber warfare side is awesome. I think it's great. I will say this, however, if Captain Spud is watching this, please update that site with the new hacking devices, because otherwise none of us are going to be able to follow. If you don't know who Captain Spud is, he's a dude that has a website on Infinity.
Yeah,
He does some
Captain
really
Spud is amazing.
.com.
Yeah.
Nice bit of advertising.
We love the stuff that he's put out. He put out the hacking helper, I think.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's a program. I hope he makes it an app.
Yeah.
Please make it an app. That would be amazing. And it's basically, I have this device, I want to target this model, here are all the programs.
Right, here's your options, yeah.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah,
so
and
nice.
with more of these, that's actually, that's a really big deal. And he made a really cool starter sheet.
Yes.
That
I follow religiously now.
Yes. It shows, Corvus Belli did a great job in the book of illustrating, giving examples that are exhaustive, and every time that you can think of an exception to the rules, it's usually in their whatever awful stuff is happening to poor Fusilier Angus. But Captain Spud did a good job of showing a visual flow of the, here's how order declaration and reaction works.
Yep.
And he's got this little timeline for it that shows visually how this stuff works, and it's great for a new player.
Definitely. So, bit of pimpage there for Captain Spud. But
I think that's
have we gone through it? Well, we've gone through everything on that list, more or less, because we didn't want to make this video too long. There's other stuff to go through in this new book. It's amazing.
And we've only been hearing rumors and suspicions and
we don't even have the book, and we've talked for 51 minutes already. We don't even have the book.
So excited!
Know, right?
Such hype!
I know.
But there's more to go into in the future, and especially as we start to get into this stuff and talk about specific units and combinations and lists and things. And we could do perhaps a bat rep in the future.
Yeah, I think that's definitely on the table. I think it's going to have to be done eventually. But especially with the studio setup, that's more than doable. But, I mean, what can we say about N3, or rather about Human Sphere, that we haven't said for the last 50 minutes? It's just that I don't know when we're going to be able to stop making videos about this damn book.
Right.
It's going to take forever to go through everything.
It's leveling things up. Yeah. And it really is, and it's evening them out. And, there will be small adjustments to...
Of course. Nails to hammer down. But.
Yeah. And some oh, I thought that was burst 1. No, it's burst 2. No, God, nasty. It happens. It always happens in the game. You're always, you do something, and then the other player is like, I can do this now, right?
Horrible things ensue.
Yeah,
There's a repeater hidden behind that building.
Exactly.
Oh, damn it.
And you can do what through that now?
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
No, it's there's so much stuff to be going on with. Yeah. It's going to be great. I mean, the game was already interesting enough, especially from the point of view of a new player like myself. I suppose I still have the hype, because the hype is infectious. It always is. But for me, the game, there's so many things I haven't seen in the game that a lot of it is just new anyway. And it's just having my attention drawn to it, I never really lived through all the hacking things that can happen. So having all these modifications is like just me continuing to discover the game. But
that has some advantages.
Of course it does. But what I do miss out on is the pure hype of the change. Because from where I see it, N3 has been out for how long now? 2-3 years? And this is big. I mean, this is the biggest change for 3 years.
Like that.
It's huge. It will totally mix the game up, which is what a good game needs every so often.
Right.
And I think
that's one of the things that I wanted to address that I love about about Corvus Belli's release schedule with this game, is that they don't, it's not the army book approach. They don't do this thing where suddenly, Grey Knights come down the pipe, everything, the meta shifts, but it changes atomically, and, it's not all these little separate things. And I like this idea of rebalancing all the factions at the same time, looking, first of all, it gives you the ability to make sure that everything is balanced against each other. Second of all, everyone gets something.
Exactly. And just one model mixes everything up so much. I mean, nobody's really done codex releases since Games Workshop. At least I don't think they have. I know a lot of war games, but I probably don't know them all, especially some of the more obscure ones. So maybe they do it like that. But
how does Privateer handle it?
well, basically, this is the thing. I think Privateer were the first to say, well, hold on a second, if we release it in staggered, so this month 2 or 3 factions get a release, next month 2 or 3 other factions get a release, and because War Machine is so, each model ties in with so many other models in the army, the effect the model has on an army compared to Infinity is exponential.
Right.
I mean, if you add in the one of last month's releases, the counter-terrorism unit, counter-insurgency group for Eugene.
Oh yeah.
Was
Conrad,
like we were talking about before. He's really cool because having that monofilament weapon on a platform that's valid is great. But sometimes in War Machine you would have this support piece or this unit come out and it just makes so many things click.
Right.
And that was the beauty of having this staggered sort of release, or this random almost release schedule, which they're doing in Infinity, which still has the bonus of keeping things fresh, keeping it mixed up.
They do the book horizontally, and then the miniatures are scattered out throughout. And so people, those people who only play the miniature once it's out, that gives them that freshness. And there's different approaches, and because Corvus Belli is really cool about proxying from within their own miniatures line. Let's say a troop isn't out there with a certain profile, you are able to substitute either another troop, etc., or that allows some people will be willing to say, I'll run this guy as that guy, but some other people are purists and say, I won't run this until the miniature is out.
But sometimes you have to for like Desperados.
Right.
That there's no submachine. Well, there is the guy with the pistol. Right. You could technically say is a submachine gun wielder, but the other guy has a chain rifle. No, has a shotgun rather. So how do you? If you say I want a chain rifle, what do you do? So it's just one of the
things.
They're
also individual that if you convert them, why just convert it by chopping his hand off? Because you're going to have another one of those guys. You're going to have to build him a whole new personality.
Exactly. And then don't even get me started on things like Joan of Arc and the Invisible Multi-Rifle, or Van Zandt and the
Sounds like a children's book.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah.
We are in Orléans right now, which is the city of Joan of Arc. Yes. I live next to her cathedral, and so I go in and look at the stained glass, which shows Joan turning back the English and all of that. And it's does it show us
brutally burning her or not?
There is the brutal burning actually. It's in, well, they don't show the catching on fire part, but they do show her standing on a pile of logs surrounded by English and Burgundians. Exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, we could talk about the whole model release schedule thing once again about Infinity for days, but that's not really what we're here for. So we'll keep it. On subject.
But Human Sphere, shows that cool. Horizontal. Let's make sure everything works together, and I guess that's been the theme of this talk today. Is that like as a player, one of the reasons to get into Human Sphere or to get into Infinity and to stick with Infinity is knowing that you are not going to deal with the not just codex creep, but like release creep.
Yeah.
That things aren't going to become more powerful to sell new models. Everyone is aware of what's on the table, and they do it in this pulsed manner that is really. I think that's really admirable.
And to support that theory, I will actually repeat what I said earlier about the whole number of models, because that's big. Even Privateer, Chris, who are kind of guilty of this nowadays, they started out 20, 25 models. Right. Now you have 50 for a standard tournament, well, for a popular tournament army. Every game does it. You start small, then you either drop points cost or something and get a lot bigger because it sells more models, it makes the game appear bigger, appear better. They are not doing that. They're not appearing to.
There's a little tiny bit of that. I mean, so you went from, single order. It's actually mainly just due to N3 changing the way that order groups work together, having command tokens for switching order groups, stuff like that. So there is the standard list size, or what a lot of people say is pretty default, is like 12 now. But it's close to that 10 plus or minus 3.
Yeah, of course.
And they aren't. There's just not really room to blow it out to a 30 model. It wouldn't work.
No. But you'd be there. It'd take an hour to have your turn. It would just the amount of command tokens you'd have in front of you. Be like, I can't hold them all.
Order tokens. Yes.
Because Infinity is an incredibly complex game.
Yeah.
Some would say too complex, but once you've played it, and
play another game if it's too complex.
This is the thing. You go into Infinity knowing that it's complex, knowing that it's deep.
Yeah,
I should have said deep rather than complex. So you go into it knowing what you're going up against. So that's fine. If that was your conclusion, I will finish with a conclusion of my own then. For me, Human Sphere, with all the fluff, with all the artwork, with all the rules, and like you said, the game design theory that they're bringing out with Human Sphere, plus what we were saying about the whole resculpt of the models and the artwork and just everything they're doing, plus in a way the role-playing game as well, which they're bringing out soon, which should be being sent very soon. On that note, I did receive my my limited models from that, which was nice to get them before the other ones came out in store. So well done, cause.
Yeah.
It shows that they're really moving into their own as far as design goes, both models and rules, and we're getting this sense that this isn't just some mishmash. Well, it hasn't been for a while, but now it's especially poignant that this isn't just some mishmash sci-fi miniatures war game. It's Corvus Belli style Infinity wargaming. You know, it's becoming its own game, like Warhammer did, like War Machine did, all that kind of thing.
Right.
So it's for me they're on the podium now. They were already there before. They were hanging on, but with everything that Human Sphere seems to be bringing, like they are properly up there now.
Dude, I'm so jealous that you get to go to the Interplanetario.
Oh,
this is the time to go
good.
because the game is really
good.
Oh,
I nearly missed out on it as well. Like my bank refused the transfer because for some reason it being Spain and my bank doesn't like Spain. I don't know why.
French banking
period. Apparently. And it was like, I think the transfer went through at like 23:10 on the 31st. So I was like, oh god. I was frantically sending an email to the nice lady Jessica, I think it was. Thank you, Jessica, if you're watching this. Who helped me, and she emailed me back just the morning and said, don't panic, it's fine. I was like, oh god. So yeah.
Well, it's going to be a good time to see everybody there and see how things are changing.
And it will probably be, unless I'm mistaken, because it is before Gen Con, is it?
I don't know. It's August. It's the end of August, right? In Gen Con's like the middle of August, isn't it?
I was going to say it might be the next big event
Who knows?
after the release of the book, but I may be wrong there. Don't quote me. But it will be interesting because they hold a load of panels there and such as well,
Right.
being their own event, of course. So it will be interesting. Maybe they'll give us some feedback on everything that's happened. It will be a nice little update on how things are going with Human Sphere. We shall see. Anyway, thank you, Owen.
Thank you very much.
Had a lot of fun.
Cheers.
To you too. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to keep on doing these until they kick us out of here. But we are going to end this one now because it's already an hour long. Human Sphere, do keep going. Do keep on looking into it. There's rumours coming out every day. Another big thanks to Beast of War and Corvus Belli for the big work they put into the hype train, which just thundered through everything. That was great.
Best promotion, yeah.
And we will probably be back fairly soon for this month's releases, because there's some tasty things coming out this month, including the Eugene New Starter Box, which I'm sure you'll have plenty of things to say about. That part will probably be an hour long on its own, knowing you. We will catch you again then. Fine. Anyway, take care, guys. We'll see you next time. Ciao.